Sega, please don't fuck this up. We're currently less than a week away from the release of Sonic Frontiers, and I'm once again a terrified Sonic fan sitting in my dark corner with my fingers crossed, hoping that the game doesn't make me once again regret being a fan of the series. Much like Kermit the Frog's It Ain't Easy Being Green, I think after a couple decades of torture and being tricked into buying this, I can say that it ain't easy being a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, Sonic has seen his fair share of great games over the years, but those years are getting farther and farther away by the minute. So I'll give you the bottom line. Sonic Frontiers needs to be a good game. To be fair, from what I've seen, the game looks interesting, but my initial reaction to seeing those empty landscapes filled with platforms just floating out in space wasn't a great one. Truth be told, as much as I loved the Sonic Adventure series, all my inner child has ever really wanted out of a Sonic game is the freedom to just run fast in a big sandbox environment and to make my own adventures out of that. Anytime I've played a 3D Sonic game in the past 15 years, I felt restricted in how fast I can run, and the level design of modern Sonic games feels limiting more than anything. You know something is wrong when a random guy posts a video of Sonic the Hedgehog in the Unreal Engine with bare bones assets in the game, and that looks more appealing than some of the franchise's own titles. One thing I wanted to see out of this game before any news came out about it is just the freedom on where you go and how fast you decide to get there. I want to feel speed in a way that's satisfying with tight controls that feel seamless to the player when making quick decisions to keep the momentum high. Apart from the errant pacing of modern Sonic games, I think the real disappointment for me comes from the controls. Some modern Sonic games have looked great in their presentation, but when you pick up the controller and move around, I have yet to find a Sonic game that doesn't feel stiff in some capacity. A perfect example of this is Sonic and the Secret Rings, where Sonic runs forward by himself, and you have to tilt the Wiimote to move side to side. I don't know what
sick disgrace to mankind
thought of that control scheme, but these motion-controlled platformers are one thing that I will never miss from the Wii era. Sonic Generations was really the last 3D Sonic game that managed to capture the magic of what Sonic was all about for me, mixing in a nice batch of classic 2D Sonic levels to round out the modern 3D platforming that's become a staple to the series. Everything about the game was nostalgic and really gave me hope for the future of the franchise. And then Sonic Boom came out 3 years later, and I was back to pretending like I was never a fan of the series in the first place. But then a new spin on the classic 2D Sonic formula rose up from the ashes of the hopes and dreams of Sonic fans around the world, and once again fed us hope. Sonic Mania was a phenomenal reimagining of classic Sonic and put a nice remix on some of the older levels that got us all hooked on the Blue Hedgehog in the first place. The pixel art was vibrant and beautiful, and the game in its entirety felt like a true love letter to fans with the franchise, which paid homage to the originals while feeling completely unique. I remember at the time thinking how cool it was that Sega came out with a really killer 2D Sonic game in 2017, complete with an amazing soundtrack with new songs that perfectly captured the 90s aesthetic. And then I realized that the entire project was headed by a fan of the Sonic games who was given the green light from Sega, and shit started to make a lot more sense. So here we are in present day, and I'm once again sitting here anticipating a new Sonic game on the horizon, just praying that it doesn't suck. I know, it's easy to say I've seen this film before, but I'm gonna try and keep an open mind, because if there's one thing I can give Sonic Frontiers is it at least looks like they're attempting something different. But as I said in the very first sentences of this video, just because change is coming for the franchise, history has taught me that change isn't always a good thing for Sonic. And hopefully, at the very least, Sonic Frontiers doesn't pull a Sonic Forces, where the main mechanic of that game is that the player forces themselves to play it because it's that bad. See? It's right there in the title. That's just good marketing.